Okay, this is a Sichah printed. Now we're doing Chidduch of Aleph, Parshas Tezhaveh, page 173, the first Sichah. Wegen Parshas Tezhaveh steht in Balaturim, in regards to Parshas Tezhaveh, the Balaturim says, as das is the einzige Sedra, was Hashanil and Mesha, and thus as ver nit der Mond der Namen von Mesha Rabbeinu ad Mishnah. This is the first Parsha, famous thing, and the only Parsha from the time that Mesha Rabbeinu was born, which Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned until Mishnah Torah. When the time of them is, and he explains what's the reason. Because Moshe said to the Eibishter, by the Chet Egel, if you're going to destroy the Yidden, erase me now from your book that you have written, if you don't forgive the Yidden. And the halacha is, Kilas Chacham Afil al Tanai Bo. Gemara Makkah says that even if conditional, a Chacham's curse is fulfilled. Is doesn't sky born, and they said so it was fulfilled in Parshas Tezhaveh. That's what the Balaturim says. Since Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Mecheni no mesifra chasher kasafta," and the halacha is kilas chacham, the curse of a chacham, even if he makes a tanai, Hashem makes it happen. So therefore, this is the parsha that is mekuim. The Rebbe says, "Yeda in prat and teda is b'dir." Every idea, every detail is precise. After Zagin, you have to say, as thus was Dafka Parshas Tezhaveh. It's always clipping Gavar, so why did they pick Parshas Tezhaveh to allude to this idea of Moshe Rabbeinu's name not being mentioned? Is in ear Zol Oiskifert werden der Mechenin Amasifracha was stated in Parshas Kisisa. Why? Because his request is because in this Parsha, it's Dafka, it wants to bring out this. There's something connected to Parshas Tezhaveh to the idea of Mecheninam Sifracha Asher Kasafta, which isn't really in Parshas Kisisa. Befrat, especially as the Chayra Volt in their Masim Given some Ramazine or Dem Indian as Amir's Meshes Mukrim Gavarn Afil al Tanai and Einer for this said this was coming noch when the way showing it wegen Amir's Mechenina. So the Rebbe says at first glance it seems it would be more appropriate to allude to the idea of Moshe's demand was fulfilled even unconditional. And one of the parshas following the request of Moshe Rabbeinu asking Mechenina Mesifracha. Und das is das der Fall. So why was der Indian from Mechenina Mesifracha is master zum Teichen von der Sedra? Because the idea of erasing me is connected dafka to Parshas Tezhaveh. That Mershon Rebbe says, was far Shaychus hat der Indian from Mecheni zum Teichen von Parshas Tezhaveh? What does Moshe's request have in common to the subject of Mechenina? Wo es wird sich wegen dem Tzivai? If Halos Neres Amnera, says Bindikona, Chinachar Navano, when I see this week's parsha speaks about the kingdom of the Meneda, making the garments of the Kohanim, Aaron, installing Aaron and his sons, constructing the Mizbeach HaKteres, the incense of the altar. What is the connection to Mechenina Mesivracha to Parshas Tezhaveh? Base. Also, we need to explain. The kavana in them was like Hisker Mesha Beseder Hazeh. What's the point of the Balaturim saying when he says Mesha is not mentioned in this week's parsha? Is nit nar azda ret nit vegen Mesha. This week's parsha is not only that Mesha's name is not mentioned, it's omitted. Nor as Mesha ver nit der Mond bishmei. It's not only that Moshe is not mentioned in this week's parsha. Is Moshe's name is bechlal omitted from this week's parsha. Aber in der said that that's a vegation or arimi psukim. If you notice, yes, the name Moshe is not mentioned in the parsha, but the parsha discusses Moshe in many psukim. Noch mer, furthermore, Yaschalas hasedra or Shem hasedra, was his meram is kidua if intention from the ganze sedra. What's the name of the parsha? The beginning of the Sedra and the name of the parsha is Be'ata Tezhaveh. You shall command. Now, who should command? But Tzitzich Dafka to Moshe. This is related to Moshe Rabbeinu. Und Zeis ve'ed more so Be'ata Tezhaveh mean Kipirish Akli HaYoker in Muhus Atzmusfo. And not only that, but when we say that you should command, it's like the Kli Yoker says from the essence of your being. Chofalov. Was Mohus Va'atzmus von a Mensch is Tipfer and Hefer von der Daige in Menschen, was is from the Mitzvah. the essence of a being, of a person, is far deeper than the level of a person when he's linked with his name. The name, as we said many times over the Shurim, enables someone else to come. Of the Atzmus Lohus, when I mention, is Hecher und Tiffer von Haben Ashaychas so Zolas, or Mele Hecher von Aniyan Hashem. So the even though yes, the name is for someone else, you can't address a person's being in essence from a name. This level is deeper and far more inward to allow associated with the name. Kum lefi so comes out as Adam, the contrary. The Oifen v'yis mekuim g'var the mecheni. So Moshe's request of asking that you should erase me as Moshe verdod der mot nit b'shmei ner durch die Wörter wartet the Tezhaveh weiß if noch rest am Eiluf and Shem Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu is asking and the Balatur is saying yes, it was Mekuyim in this week's parsha because Kilas Chacham Afil Tanai is Mekuyim. So, but in this week's parsha, it speaks about many times about Moshe Rabbeinu, not his name, but about his essence. So, not only are you not erasing Moshe Rabbeinu's name, but fakert, it's the Atzmus itself of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is much higher, is mentioned in this week's name. You have the app or the site? I posted on the group, the Kedusha group.
Matt, Rabbi thinks like Ichikar is Kavod Tarleon, and he said Matena, is it on the basis of Matena that he's action about that there is no name, or about the Tezhaveh came before? I think that's the I was going to end up answering.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Yeah, there is. The Rabbi gets into that a little bit later. Okay, Gimel. Okay, Gimel. Wird man das verstehen, bei einem Bier in dem Gedel Indien von Makoshes Menschen beginnen mit Sivracha Shukasavto bei der Shasha Mikola Terekula. Okay, we're going to first understand this. Let's preface with the explanation of Moshe's request, the significance of erase me now from your book that you have written. Rashi explains what does that mean. Mikola Terekula from the entire Teda. And Yonef Moshe is Teda. Moshe's entire identity was Teda. Teda. Now, we see that the Chazal say that the Torah is called the Moshe Rabbeinu's name because he invested his soul in Torah. Therefore, the first time it is understood as the Inya from Mechinim Sevracham Mikal Torah Kula writ on the Etzem Mitzius from Moshe. This is the Esses Aints mit Torah. So, my Moshe Rabbeinu asking, erase me from your Torah, from the entire Torah, would have affected Moshe's very essence, which was one with Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu, what's his idea is Torah? His Etzem, Moshe's identity is Torah. So Moshe is saying, it's not only erase me from your book, it's basically eradicating Moshe's whole Etzem. Was Moshe azoi eingestellt, auf Peilen HaKapore, auf Chete Egel, was Chete Egel ist a Chet Achi Chomer, bis als alle spöttige Chatoim, wo sie einstimmig sind verbunden mit Chete Egel, kommen schon einmal, beim Fukati, alle Chatosim. And Moshe, he jeopardized himself to the extent to mechaper for the sin of the golden calf. And the sin of the golden calf was so severe that all future punishments are linked with the Chet Egel, as the pasuk says, on the day that I, Hashem, make an accounting, I will bring their sin to account against them. It's the Moas that ever says, it's wondrous. Wie kommt es, als Moshe soll einstellen, ein Etzem Mitzius, was ist verbunden mit Teda, für die Teil Jiden, was haben Chete gewen Beigel, Kolel die Eisa Egel, sagen die Hebech von Ba'i Lacha, Leisasachli, in ganzen abgedissen nach man Latzaf für Teda. How is it possible that Moshe would jeopardize his very essence, which is bound to Torah, for who? For Yidden that sinned with the golden calf, including Yidden responsible for producing the calf. And we know the Aveda is the antithesis of the command, you should not have any other God, you should not make for yourself. So these Chavra were in Gansen, were in Gansen detached from Torah. So how come Moshe Rabbeinu, he puts himself in the Mesiras Nefesh for who? For the people that were totally disassociated, or totally detached from Torah. Oh, we have to understand what is the Teichen from Bakashas Moshe? What is Moshe's request? If not, if you don't forgive them, okay, erase me from your entire Torah. What's the connection between them? What's the connection between the two things? What's the connection? If you're not going to forgive them, what is this? He's threatening the Eibishter. If you're not going to forgive them, erase me from your Torah. What's the connection? Now, Rashi's Mevar. Rashi explains, as a mitzvah Moshe gewollt bavornish lo Olai shalei osisi k'dei levakish k'dei levakish aleim nachem. Rashi says that Moshe Rabbeinu requested to ensure that people should not say to me that I wasn't worthy enough to seek mercy for them. It appears that the chid of this explanation is not so smooth. Of Lashon HaPasuk is mashma as mit der Teine v'tzviyah zum Eibishten hat Moshe gewollt peilen akapor of Chet HaEgel und nicht zu bevornen sich shleim nur alai. The chid of Moshe Rabbeinu's, it wasn't about him, so people should not say about me that I didn't request mercy for them or about them. Oich v'ikar, even more so, and this is the main thing, wenn es letztlich wegen nicht oisfiel chas v'sholom tisa chatasem chotok dila, was fahrt tfises makim hat bei Moshe rai me'emna was min vet zogen wegen him. When discussing the possibility of failure to achieve the outcome where Hashem would bear their sins, a great sin, why would Moshe, who faithful shepherd, be worried about the people, what people might say about him? It's not about, now we have to, we're talking about, we're not talking about a person who has a political agenda over here. Okay, David.
In the part before, it was it Yifklatik? I'm going to tell you the truth, maybe not make it play like a part of Chet HaEgel and Nishto when Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. First, you want to make it a part. The second part is the further. Moshe bears such a high Vadrige. Was Pshat, he mit dem wegen, ich war hat die Sache so, he fucking but the Reime Hände, he's talking with but Schlussel Rollen.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, now, so the Bir Bazeh, the explanation is as follows. Moshe Rabbeinu is ein Zach Mamash with Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu is literally one entity with Klal Yisrael. Beis says that Shayach to Optelen in von Yidin B'chlal B'frat. It's not possible to separate the Yidin and Moshe Rabbeinu. B'lashan Rashi, Moshe who Yisrael and Moshe. As Rashi says, Moshe is the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are Moshe Rabbeinu. Was der Fahrer der Chet HaEgel gepelt Yidin Moshe. And this is why the sins of the Egel Azov descended in Moshe Rabbeinu. As Hazal say, they descend from your greatness. Seemingly, Moshe had absolutely no connection with the Chet HaEgel. In him together from Mishish the other Nimchis. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't even have the possibility to protest against the Chet HaEgel because he wasn't there. Is double given Bahar. He was on the mountain, it's a very high spiritual level. So why would the Chet HaEgel affect him? Nor, Moshe is ein Zach mit Yisrael. Mit der Dulasai, Itno, und es given ein Zach mit Dulas Yisrael. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is one with the Yidden. Hat the Chet HaEgel, when you read it from Yisrael, but that's my mail, get paid on Yidden and Moshe. Since Moshe Rabbeinu is one with the Yidden, Hainu half. So if it affected the Yidden, it affected Moshe Rabbeinu. But the Saftus von Moshe mit Yidden is noch tiffer wie seine Saftus mit Teda. And the unity of Moshe and the Jewish people ran deeper than the unity of Moshe. So yes, Moshe's ein Zach with Teda, he's one, his whole identity is Teda, but the unity that Moshe had with the Jewish people is deeper than the unity of Moshe with Teda. What does that mean? Geschehen wie mir gefunden bei der Vereinzelung von jedem mit dem Ebersten. Das Alphabet, als Reise über die Chagulachad, wie die Pirisha Pnimi von Marmar Chazal. Ano Nafshi Ksavas Sehabis, als der Eberste hat sich allein Nafshi aneingestimmt und abgegeben in Teda. Now, we find that something similar with regards to the unity of the Jewish people and Hashem. That even though the Teda and Hashem are all one, and we know the deeper explanation, as Chazal say, Ano Nafshi, what's Nafshi? It's Ano Nafshi Ksavis Yehavis, that I wrote and I gave myself. Hashem wrote and gave himself in Teda. Nevertheless, from the Aspegen is these afters from Yidden, with the Kutshabricha noch Tiffer and Hechen of their phone. Kamar Chazal is all called Teda, so you were saying before. Nevertheless, the unity of the Jewish people and Hashem is even deeper and more and higher than Hashem's unity with the Jewish people. As Chazal said, the Jewish people preceded Teda. So yes, Eiraisa b'Kudsha B'richu is Kulu Chad, and as we know, what does it mean that the Teda and the Eibishter are one? Means that the Eibishter that Angelik Zayin Etzim in Teda. But nevertheless, the unity that the Eibishter has with the Yidden is higher than Teda. So before we were saying with Moshe and the Yidden, that the Eibishter and the Yidden is higher than Teda, because as we know, Yisrael Kadmul Teda. Al derech zeh, because it says by Nesiyah Teda. So we see that by the Eibishter and the Yidden that it's higher, and it preceded Teda. So al derech zeh, the same applies to by the results of Nesiyah Yisrael, Nesiyah Teda. As Chazal say, that the leader of the generation is equivalent to the entire generation. As there is achdos mit the Yidden, von there is noch hecher, von there is achdos mit Teda. That the unity that the Nasi Adeh has with the Jewish people of their generation surpasses the unity with Teda. And this applies true to all tzaddikim, which tzaddikim are resemble the Creator. Aval be as a given zecharayin in the Yanei Teda, was a land of a frad zechidushay Teda. So even though they invest themselves in Torah matters, and they learn, and especially the chidushay Teda they make, kommt das aber nicht zu sehr Vereinzigung mit den Juden. It doesn't compare to the unity with the Jewish people. Befrat divas haben zu sehr erscheites mila achrayes miyuchedes ani yircham bonim v'talmidim and especially it doesn't compare to the unity they have with the people that have a special connection with them, and they bear a unique responsibility for them. As we know, the poor people of the city, the children, the students, as we know, the souls that they made in Charan, which means the Chassidim. So they have a very, very special connection. A tzaddik's connection b'chlal with the Yidden is very, very deep, but b'frat the Nasi Aded, just like the Eibishter's connection with the Yidden is higher than his connection with Teda, the Nasi Aded, his connection with the Yidden is higher than Teda, and especially those who have a special responsibility to him. Hey, das ist echt der Bier in Bakashas Meisher beginnen mit Sivracha und der Tam was hat eingestellt sein Etzem mit Zias. We see is verbunden mit Teda, so the Eich the Isa Egel. Now we understand when Moshe requested, erase me from your Teda, and when Moshe jeopardized his very existence, which was interconnected with Teda, even for those, as we said, the Isa Egel who are detached from Teda. Why? Bald as the Isachtos from Moshe mit Yidden is noch hecher von seine Isachtos from Teda, since Moshe's unity with the Jewish people was higher than the unity of Teda. Their fun is their far is their fun given in Beit Yam. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu's outcome, his unity with that's why the Teitzah was in both things. Number one, Aleph, as Oich Zayin Meseres Nefesh for Yidden is freer or hecher for Zayin Meseres Nefesh from Torah. Number one, his self-sacrifice for the Jewish people preceded and exceeded his Meseres Nefesh for Torah. And Beis, Aderech Vi stated in Magid Misharim, and this is like it says in the Magid Misharim, at the Beis Yosef, at the Gedarv Zeicha Zayin Tzem Meseres Nefesh, Al Kiddush Hashem, that the Beis Yosef should have merited to Meseres Nefesh. Nur Tzalibak, we say Sibba, hat in Manish given, or hat gepepel, der Zuz nit Zeicha given. And the story is by the Beis Yosef, that he should have merited to Meseres Nefesh. But because of a specific reason, he was punished for not having the Mesiras Nefesh.
We couldn't kill him, Bishman.
Okay. So the Rebbe says like this: was oib wat umgekommen. Al Kiddush Hashem wat nicht gehad die Möglichkeit zum Mechaber sein auf Shulchan Aruch Shalei Kel. Shemimenu Tezhaveh bei Allah Chol Yisrael. So if he would have merited to have Mesiras Nefesh, he wouldn't have compiled the entire Shulchan Aruch. For the entire Teda, and instructions are derived from Shulchan Aruch. Nevertheless, it's a idea of punishment. It doesn't come to the Mesiras Nefesh on Kiddush Hashem. Was das ist Mesiras Nefesh, weil is Ayid, when as man soll sein. So, sorry, I skipped right. Our begin is das an initial inish. About wie hoch says that even in Teda, it doesn't matter how high Teda is. Kommt es aber nicht zum Mesiras Nefesh on Kiddush Hashem. It doesn't come to the Mesiras Nefesh of Kiddush Hashem. Was das ist Mesiras Nefesh, weil is Ayid, when as man soll sein Ayid, eins mit Hashem. Because this is the person's sacrifice what's his sacrifice? That he's a Yid. And to remain a Yid, one with Hashem. So that's number one. So number one is, since the Yisafta Sameish with Yidin is higher than Teda, so that's why his Mesiras Nefesh for Yidin came before Teda. Like we see that the Beis Yosef, that he should have merited from Mesiras Nefesh on Kiddush Hashem, and for whatever reason he was punished that he did not have Mesiras Nefesh, that he could not have Mesiras Nefesh to die for Kiddush Hashem, and because of that he was able to mechaber the Shulchan Aruch, so he was mechaber Teda, but nevertheless he was not zeicher to Kiddush Hashem. So you see that Kiddush Hashem, the idea of it's much higher than Teda, and base the Isaftos of Emela, the Mesiras Nefesh, omit unfar yeder Yidin, in Basfar Matziv, Erzol Nor Zayin, I feel that Yisrael Michael. And number two, the unity and the self-sacrifice are revoked for all Yidden, regardless of their spiritual situation, even those who were with the Yisrael. Since it's higher than Teda, but it's not bottled durch them, was Yid is upgraded from Teda. So even though the Yidden Taka, they serve the Egel Azov, nevertheless, since the source of the unity is higher than Teda, it's not nullified even if a Yid becomes detached from Teda. As we know, that even though a Yid sins, Yisrael, this is also explains, if you would but bear their sin. But if not, erase me from your book that you have written. Hashem, what mechaper given nor Teda is kavyoch Tezhaveh umineh is meishet bakasha untfiyah mechinam resivlecha from Teda. Now, if the sin Egel Azov was so severe that Teda would not consider it possible to bear their sin, meaning Hashem would have granted kapara, but the Teda would have, in a manner of speaking, protested and withheld the kapara, then Meisha's request of erase me from your book from the Teda. Damol steht begile blile vush klau Meisha's atzmis to get das mit Yidin, or durch dem der Yichud von Yidin mit Kutshabrichu was das Hecher von das mit Teda. Das mitzad der das kommt die kapara filo oi von Chet Egel. Und das verbindet sehr danach zurück mit der Teda. So since the Meisha's inherent unity with the Jewish people was clearly pronounced without being cloaked at all, so there was a revelation of Hashem's unity with the Jewish people higher than the unity with Teda, and from this degree of Aftos, atonement was granted even for the sin of the Egel Azov, which was an antithesis of the entire Teda. Why? Because the Yid's connection with the Eibishter is higher than Teda. So yes, mitzat Teda, maybe Teda or Allah doesn't allow this person to be mechaper, but since it's higher, so Moshe Rabbeinu could say, and dafka through that connection, it could bring a Yid back to Teda. Yeah, we'll finish tomorrow.